Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of our favorite guitar riff masters of all time. 30 days here in the month of April 2023. We have picked out our 30 favorite guitarists, sometimes one, sometimes two, who have created those memorable guitar riffs, that guitar lick, that guitar progression that usually starts at the beginning of the song and repeats itself throughout the song is what we really remember from the song. Yeah, they may have great choruses or vocal melodies too, but it's generally that guitar riff that we really love. And each day we're picking out our favorite guitar riff master and our three favorite riffs from that particular player or players. So today, technically, you've seen the picture on the thumbnail, you see me wearing the shirt. You know I'm talking about Keith, right? Now, Keith has had the pleasure of playing in the Rolling Stones alongside some other really good guitar players. Brian Jones, of course, the great Mick Taylor, Ronnie Wood, right? So technically this could be a team sort of thing, but I think we can all agree in most cases it's Keith generally, especially on the songs that I'm going to talk about. He's the one who created these riffs, right? He's the main guy, and like in the case of Mick Taylor was the soloist, spectacular in the Rolling Stones, and they complemented each other so well because Mick was the gritty riff guy, and Keith was the gritty riff guy, and Mick was the great lead player. I think it's a little bit different with Ronnie. All these years now, they're both kind of cut from a similar cloth as far as riffs go. But the riffs I'm going to pick are from that early period where you had both Mick Taylor and Keith Richards working together, and I'm going to give Keith all the credit for this stuff because, quite frankly, I think he's always been the guy who has created the riffs in the Rolling Stones. And let me tell you, there's a ton of them. This wasn't easy. Interesting story, excuse me, before I get into talking about the riffs, is I actually originally had Keith in my honorable mentions list. And I've seen many of you mention him all month long, and I get it, right? Because he's one of the greats of all time. But I never thought that he was going to be in my top 30. And then when it came to yesterday, I was thinking about the riffs I was going to pick for what was originally going to be today's pick. So yes, Keith was not originally supposed to be today. Three of them, I couldn't come up with three right off the bat, right off the top of my head. I was thinking, and there was a couple that I was thinking about, and I was like, but for me, in order for a player to be on this, to make this list, you immediately have to think of like three or more that instantly come to mind. If I have to think about it way too much, because it's better to have to out of the blue, just like to sit down and say, okay, what are my three favorite riffs, and then instantly you come up with 5 or 10 or whatever it is, and you got to whittle it down, right? That's generally how it should be. But if you literally have to sit there and start thinking, I'm like, okay, well, yeah, that album has got this and that, and the guy. I'm not going to talk about who the guy was today, but and there's tons of great riffs on the albums that this guy has performed on. So it's not that, but I didn't. The more I thought about it, the more I was thinking, well, I don't know if any of the songs that I would pick are really that memorable just because of the riffs. The songs are great. And the vocals are really cool, and the lead guitar work is really cool. The arrangements are really cool, but I don't know if any of the stuff that I would pick are all that identifiable for the riffs, right? You see where I'm kind of going here? And then the more I kept thinking about it, I'm like, well, who do I have sitting in the wings? And then I kept looking at Keith, and I'm like, shit, how many Rolling Stones songs are so well known because of that friggin' riff, right? A lot. And I said, you know what? This is a no-brainer. Make the switcheroo. It's the right move to do, Pete, right? So I pulled a last-minute what's better for business type of thing, right? So anyway, all that being said, let's go with my first choice. Again, so many great Keith Richards riffs all throughout the career of the Rolling Stones. So many to choose from. I decided let's go to the Let It Bleed album, and I'm going to go with Monkey Man. It's just so funky and so cool. And I was sitting here thinking, you can't not think of Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas movie without thinking about the great soundtrack to that and all the great music that's played throughout the film. And then the Stones come up a couple times in those couple brief little scenes where I believe it's twice during the film you get little snippets of Monkey Man in there. And I just always really like Monkey Man. It's a good rocker. It's a good kind of funky rocker. Really dig it. I mean, there's other tracks on here I could have picked. I thought about Give Me Shelter, but I was like, got to go with Monkey Man. So that's my first one. And next we're going to go to, excuse me, what could be my favorite riff album from Keith in general, and that is Sticky Fingers. And I'm going to go with Bitch. Love that little thing he throws in there, right? Bitch is just absolutely great. Gotta have that. And then one of the great riff songs of all time, Can't You Hear Me Knocking? I mean, the whole beginning is really cool, and then you have the other part of the riff that plays throughout the song. I mean, it's a great riff song, and I think it's one of the first songs going way back that ever made me stop to take the Rolling Stones seriously. I really think that's the song, because as I've told here on the channel before, I grew up as a kid. I hated the Rolling Stones. Didn't like anything about them. It's like I wanted nothing to do with them. Any song I ever heard, I was kind of like, I don't see why this band is so popular and blah 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 blah. Being a young metalhead, right? I was like, the Rolling Stones, no need for them. But then, like in literally like in the early '90s, I discovered Can't You Hear Me Knocking, and I was like, I kind of dig this. It's like, how did I miss this all these years? And that just opened up everything else. And I've been a big fan of the Stones now for going on about 30 years. So, Can't You Hear Me Knocking, Bitch, and Monkey Man are my favorites. Big shout out to Honky Tonk Woman, too. I get Satisfaction, right? That's cool and all. But, Honky Tonk Woman, I think, is really cool. In the pocket, kind of raunchy riff. Love that, too. There's so many of them. Start Me Up is another great one. We can go on and on forever about all the great riffs. There's a lot of good ones in Exile on Main Street. Quite frankly, Goat's Head Soup has a ton of really good riffs as well. So, yeah, so many. I'm sure if you all want to play along with my Keith Richards pick here today, we're going to have all sorts of cool riffs being mentioned down below in the comments from Keith and the other guys in the Stones as well. But so those are my 3 picks for the man, Keith Richards, the guy who will probably outlive all of us, crazy as that seems. Long may Keith reign supreme. And visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also down below, we've got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, all of which are very much appreciated to help keep things going here on the channel. Buying more music to review and talk about, and fill in gaps in catalogs so we can do more album rankings. God, terrible post-nasal drip this morning. It's the pollen is just getting to me. The allergies, the morning is always kind of tough. And the link to our merch page below as well, so we can get all sorts of cool Sea of Tranquility stuff. Well, not this shirt, of course. But thanks for watching, everybody. List your pick, your player for today, your Riff-Master down in the comments below, and your 3 favorite riffs. And we'll see you tomorrow for day 28 as we finish up the Guitar Riff-Masters month on Sunday. And then Monday we dive right into, let me tell you something. So I agreed to do this whole my 30 favorite hard rock and heavy metal albums of the 80s month daily show for May. Can I tell you how hard this assignment is? I have been agonizing over my list for the last couple of days, and I have to sit down with it this weekend and really fine-tune it, because I am finding it nearly impossible to just pick 30. And I really, this is what I want to do, guys. I am not going to do an honorable mention show for that, because there would be way too many. I think I really have to go over this list. I have a big list of like maybe 200 albums that I'm trying to whittle down to 30. Or 31, because there's 31 days next month, and it's like next to impossible. And originally I went in thinking, all right, well, normally when I do stuff like this, I do a maximum of 2 album per band rule, which I'm finding next to impossible to adhere to, because there are a couple of bands that had way more than 2 great albums in the 80s that are really, really special to me. And I said I want to pick the 30 favorite, even if a couple of bands may show up 2 or 3 times, or maybe even more, right? So I'm really struggling, and there's some great albums that are not going to make the list. So it is really difficult. So basically, however it turns out, there's going to be a lot of people who are watching who, again, you all should do the same thing. That's what makes this just as much challenging for me. But as you guys, I think everybody else needs to try and do this. This is a really tough exercise. If you're a hard rock and metal fan and you kind of, were really into the music in the 80s, there's so many great ones. So again, there's going to be a lot of great ones that I love that aren't going to get mentioned. It is what it is. I'm still pouring over the list and trying to figure out is that, because I'm really trying to do them in order and trying to pick out my 30 favorites. And it's really, really difficult. And I'm sure the following month for the prog albums of the 70s is going to be just as hard. So we'll see how it goes. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you in a couple days for that, right? That'll be starting on Monday. And tune in tonight for the Monsters Den, right? We've got the Monsters Den coming up tonight. We've got Friday morning at the Funhouse tomorrow with Martin Popoff. We're going to be talking about long albums, right? Why are some albums too long? Why do we think they're too long? Why are shorter albums better? Are EPs better? And we're going to talk about album length. That's kind of what we're talking about tomorrow morning. Of course, we've got ranking the albums coming up on Sunday. Chris Allen and I will be ranking the catalog of Danzig, so that's coming up on Sunday. So, and then of course we've got Tuesday is in the prog seat, so stay tuned for that and a lot more. Tuesday's in the prog seat. We're talking about our favorite albums of favorite prog albums of 1971. So that's coming up next week. So thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you real soon here on the channel. I'm Pete Pardo. Have a good one. Bye bye.